Vintage buttercream cake is one of the cake styles that I truly love. This type of frilly buttercream cake are nostalgic and remind me of birthday cakes from my childhood. Kitschy, gaudy, and ornate. Layers of buttercream frosting, pastel colors, lace, and swirls. In this video, I will show you the simplest way to create a vintage look and piping rose technique so anyone can recreate it. Now, let me show you how to make it. Before you start, remember to spare some room in your fridge. The fridge will be your best friend. It will help the cake set, making it easier to work with. Here I'm using my grit-free, less sweet American buttercream. The buttercream is super smooth that pipes like a dream, doesn't cross over. Kindly find the complete recipe in the description box. The buttercream must be at room temperature and make sure that the amount of buttercream is more than you'll need, because there's nothing worse in cake decorating than running out of buttercream. Everyone has their own way of making buttercream roses. I use a 1 cm round nozzle to make the mounds and a 104 nozzle for the petals. Other important tools are a flower nail and a flower nail lifter or scissors to cut and transfer the flowers. And to freeze the flower, make sure you use a small piece of parchment paper and stick it on the nail before you pipe the flower, so it will be easier to transfer them. By freezing the flowers, you will make them much more easy to arrange and secure to a cake. Everything might seem difficult at first, but once you perfect an action, it will seem like you can do it easily. This process will be divided into 6 steps, so let's start making our beautiful roses. First, using a 1 cm round nozzle, pipe a sturdy medium-sized mound according to how big you want your rose to be. Second, then using 104 nozzle, position the nozzle with the narrow end touching the top of the mound. Make sure the position is tilted slightly inward to avoid the cone being too wide in the middle. Squeeze the piping back as you turn the flower nail until the 2 ends of your first pipe petal meet and overlap. Third, place nozzle slightly tilted inwards towards the bud and pipe a curved petals around the bud, ideally 3 or 4 petals. Slightly push against the bud so there are no gaps in between and the petals sticks together so it won't collapse. Fourth, repeat the same process as step 3, but this time 5 petals. Make sure each petal overlaps from the previous one. Fifth, hold the nozzle straight so the opening is vertical and pipe 7 slightly longer and higher arcs than the petal in step 4. Six, when piping the last few petals, tilt the nozzle slightly outwards and make the arches longer instead of higher. Pipe about 9 petals or more, depending on how big you want the rose to be. Once it's done, let it chill in the fridge so it's easier to handle when it comes time to apply them to your cake. Food coloring paste or gels are ideal for coloring your buttercream as they won't affect its consistency. If you can get only the powder type, make sure you dissolve it first with droplets of water, otherwise the powdered granules will not dissolve properly into the thick consistency of your buttercream. And make sure you add coloring little by little until you get the desired color, otherwise your buttercream will be wasted. The cake I'm using is my 7-inch fluffy vanilla sponge cake, which measured 9 cm in height. This technique looks great on a tall cakes. The taller the cake, the more piping you can add. So I will cut the cake into 3 layers. On a cake board, sandwich them together. Adding some sugar syrup and buttercream, about 1/4 inch thick between the layers. Sugar syrup makes the cake moist longer. And whenever you decorate the cake, it is important to start by applying a crumb coat. Crumb coat is a thin layer of buttercream that covers the entire surface of the cake so that it locks in all the crumbs. Pile a generous amount of buttercream on top of the cake, working from the center. Spread the mixture toward the edges of the cake and down. This will hold the sponge surface in place and give it a good base shape to work with. Once it's done, chill the crumb-coated cake into the fridge for at least 30 minutes until it's set. To apply a final coat, add a generous amount of a fresh crumb-free buttercream to the top and the sides. Make sure that the cake is completely covered and there are no gaps around the sides. Place the scraper with the long stretched edge against the cake at a 45 degrees angle, and the bottom of the scraper sitting flat on the cake board. Then slowly rotate the turntable against the direction of the scraper, smoothing the buttercream. If there are still a lot of cracks or gaps in the buttercream, repeat the side scraping process. And to smooth the top, I will use an angled palette knife to scrape the buttercream crown that formed along the top edge inward to create a sharp edge. Once you are happy with the coating, put the cake bake in the fridge for about 1 hour or until the buttercream has set. If there are still uneven surface or small holes like this, don't worry, you can patch it later. After 1 hour in the fridge, the cake surface has hardened. To deal with these holes, you can apply a little buttercream. Or you can dip a spatula in hot water, dry it, then gently scrape it against your cake. The idea is to melt buttercream enough so it is smoother. Once the cake is done, we can continue with the decorations. To help us create perfect curves, I will use a 7 cm diameter round cutter as a piping guide. Then using 150 tip for the frills. $19 tip for the frills. $5 tip for the plain curve. $1 1C for the bottom swirls. $20 for a top. $6B for the top edge swirls. $22 for the inside part. Then I will place our beautiful buttercream roses on top. And finally, $352 tip for the leaves. These vintage-inspired cakes look so pretty, and there are so many endless possibilities for the design. They go perfectly with simple shades like white and pink. You can get creative with the different piping tips, colors, patterns, or shapes to create your own beautiful style. So feminine and almost too pretty to cut. These stunning cakes are delightful as they are tasty. I love looking at them, smelling them, eating them, and most of all, I love making them. I hope you will enjoy this tutorial and love the beauty of vintage buttercream cakes as much as I do.
So beautiful.